So as we begin our journey together, O Lord, give us the grace to be present. Give us the grace to invite you to be with us, even as we continue to struggle. And we do not know the way, we do not know your plans. And like Mary during the Annunciation, we are afraid. And through her intercession, we pray, place us closer with your Son, Jesus. Amen. So thank you, everyone, for that. So we'll get into the next 20 minutes, the bulk of our conversations. So as we know, Lent is a journey with Jesus into the desert, into the promised land of Easter, as we hope. And the prophet Isaiah said, I will lead her into the desert and speak to her heart. And boy, have we been taking for a wild ride in a weird desert this Lent. Stranger, darker desert than we've ever known. Because it stirs things within us much deeper and darker and bigger and greater than we've ever known. In the past 2 weeks, I found myself bouncing between two modes of thinking and feeling. Crisis, retreat. Crisis mode. My mind races to plan, to manage risk, to wash hands, to keep social distance, to do online work, online schooling, not to mention worry about many of the people around me, including my brother Jesuits who I live with, especially those who are older and vulnerable. And then on the other hand, retreat mode, stirring things deeper than I've ever known, going into silence, even though I don't choose silence. And imagine, and then things stirring as we go into retreat oftentimes. In the beginning, it's rough, it's not easy. And then things stir within, things deeper than we've ever known, imagined as possible, and definitely uncomfortable, if not at times incredibly frightening. Connected, yes, at times, and scared, yes. And on retreat mode, a stripping away, a slowing down, a coming to what's essential, a sense of greater belonging. I don't know about you, but my mind and heart fluctuates like a yo-yo. So what kind of heart are you leading me and us into, Lord? You know, on the one hand, my heart is deeply moved with that people like that 72-year-old priest in Italy who died after his giving his ventilator to a younger patient who also had the coronavirus. I'm also touched by many people, ordinary people, people we do not see in newspapers or magazines, on TVs or headlines on the latest TV show, but people heroically giving of themselves for others. Doctors and nurses, supermarket employees, cleaners, caregivers, provider of transport, the law and order forces, volunteers, priests, religious men and women. Many of you are healthcare workers. Some of you are in touch caring for coronavirus patients. So while that moves in me deeply, on the other hand, the worst part of me comes out. Impatience with people I work with, poor Jacqueline and Titois, the need to control because things seem out of control, and disproportionate reactions comes up unprovoked. And deeper, it's like the deeper scary part of things, stuff that's in me, quality that's in me, that comes out like little monsters under the bed or deep in the basement of my psyche. And I can't explain it, I can barely track it. So I don't know about you, my head and my heart, it's like a yo-yo. And even in my better days, I ask, God, how can you be in this mess? I know that's a little poopy. And it's much more than poopy is what's happening now. It's continually news, more and more things do get worse. So Lord, how can you be in this mess? And in my mind, I'm a Jesuit. I know all the wonderful teachings that God is with us, God loves us through the mess, through the muck, that everything can be a gift, if not obvious and disguised. But I know this in my mind. I struggle to accept this in my heart. In the past few months, even before coronavirus, I've been working with 4 families whom I love dearly, and yet they struggled mightily. And 3 are on the brink of divorce. And the 4th family struggled so much that they resent each other, that the wife can't even forgive the husband after 20 years. And she only has a few months to live. And because I love these people so dearly, I find myself hurting with them and wanting so much to change their situation, to fix them. I know I'm not the Messiah, but I feel helpless and powerless. And it kills me to see people I love suffer, because my weaknesses and my self-reliance are exposed. And imagine this time of global pandemic. Helplessness, powerlessness, confusion, deep uncertainty. I'm reminded of a line from the poet Mary Oliver. Someone I loved once gave me a box full of chocolate. Not chocolate, full of darkness. It took me years to understand that this too was a gift. To these families, I find myself offered a disguised gift, a box full of darkness. It's hard to see helplessness as a gift. It's much easier to open nice, obvious presents, especially things I don't want to choose. And it's these very couples who unknowingly or intentionally give themselves a box full of darkness. And literally, you and I, because of our asymptomatic symptoms, could give each other a box of coronavirus. How is this a gift? What are you drawing our heart to, oh God, oh God? We can try as much as we can, but I don't think it's something that our mind can understand. We have to live through it. So this wonderful quote from Henry Nouwen: the great challenge is living your wounds through instead of thinking them through. It's better to cry than to worry. Better to feel your wounds deeply than understand them. Better to let them enter into your silence than talk about them. The choice we face constantly is whether we are taking our wounds to our head or to our heart. In our head, we can analyze them, find their cause and consequences, and coin words to speak and write about them. But in the end, no healing, no genuine true healing could likely come from this source. Instead, we need to let our wounds, our fears go down to our heart. Then you and I could live through them and to discover that they will not destroy us. Moreover, that we will be surprised by grace. So the journey from here to here is really hard for me. Really hard, not so easy. You know the story, Native American story of a grandfather telling his grandson, grandson, each of us have 2 wolves inside of us, 2 set of forces. The wolf that is represents the forces of light, and the wolf that represents the forces of darkness. The forces of light: unity, presence, compassion, patience, acceptance. The forces of darkness: envy, jealousy, pride, division, self-preoccupation. And the grandfather continues, these two wolves are inside of us, not just outside, and they're constantly fighting each other. And they're fighting, and they're tearing at each other. And then the grandson asks, so grandpapa, what happens? Which wolf wins? And the grandfather smiles and he says, some of you may know the story already. You can finish the line. My grandson, the wolf that wins is the wolf that you feed. What wolf are we feeding? Are we feeding the fear? Are we constantly checking news all the time, all the data? Are we have to be connected virtually but not connected in here? Are we doing everything that we have to do but don't take the time? And I know I need to pray more. I want to pray more, but I can't at times. So I know not to feed those dark wolves, but I do inadvertently. But sometimes what I do is I said, okay, I don't feed them, so I starve them. And so let me tell you some experiences I had some years ago, how I starve aspects of myself. Would seem at first seems to be better, but at the end, as you will see, it's not. So when I was a novice Jesuit about 25 years ago, part of our training is to make the spiritual exercises. And during one of the days of prayer, I had to struggle with what I would call my mortal enemies. Sides of myself I cannot accept. In fact, I demonize them as bad, as evil. And I cannot imagine coexisting with them. And all my life, up to when I was 25, I struggled mightily to evict them from my heart. You know, the parables of the weeds and the wheat. You know, the seed is sown, and then the wheat grew, and then the weeds also grew, and then this one person wanted to pluck all the weeds out. But when you pluck all the weeds out, the wheat came out. The wheat came out too. So this wrestling with myself, and then I went into prayer. And in my prayer, I imagine. I mean, I don't see things, but I imagine fighting with these mortal enemies, and they look like me, all five of them, and they all have names, all embodied aspects of myself I cannot accept. Self-reliance or pride, perfectionism, and the excessive need for approval, sensuality, unchecked, heightened, and ambition or overzealousness. So I imagine myself fighting with these, I thought, demons. Fighting, of course, five against one, they're just as powerful, just as tricky. And so I was getting beat up galore. And then somehow deep in my voice, deep within, there was something like, Lord, help me. I would rather die with you than live with these demons all my life. And then something came over me, and I know it's not me. I started to hug one of them. I think it was ambition. And as I hugged him, he fought me less, but of course now there's four, but at least four is better than five, fighting. And then and as I hugged him, he calmed down and he sat down. And then I went and hugged another one, I think self-reliance or pride. And I hugged him and he also stopped fighting and calmed down. And now there's three. Three is less, three is better than four and much better than five. And then now slowly, all five of them sat down and we sat in a circle. And for the first time, instead of fighting and shouting at them, I talked to them, to each of these parts of who I am that I cannot accept. And I learned something I never learned before. Of course, I started out saying, why are you fighting me? Why are you always at war with me? And each of them said, we don't want to. We just want to live with you. But you kept beating us down. You kept fighting us. And after a while, I learned. I have 7 young siblings, and if you have siblings or younger people, you know when they make, when they're in trouble and they make a mistake, if we older people clamp upon them, older siblings, they will act up. But if we dance with them, cajole and play with them, walk with them, they will calm down and they will cooperate. So that's what happened. So 30 years ago, I learned, okay, Tree, they don't have to be foes. They could be friends. And each one of them represent an aspect of energy, a goodness in me that once were connected together, a wonderful force. So imagine me like a stagecoach and 5 of these guys now no longer demons, they're little brothers, little siblings. But imagine demons, 5 horses pulling the carriage 5 different ways. Chaos, destruction. But imagine 5 horses line up and pulling the carriage one way. So when we're together, when I allow myself to listen to this part of me, these genuine needs that I speak up, then we're good. So I know this. I know to befriend fear. I know to befriend, but I still struggle. So I befriended lust, I befriended anger, I befriended shame, things which in the past has really struggled with. Now it's the small one. It's helplessness, it's anxieties, it's loneliness. And guess what comes up these days in the past 2 weeks? Since the pandemic hit very close to all of us. I know I do not need to feed or to starve, but because what's happening right now stirs something so deep in me, it comes up, there's like a deep dis-ease. And I want to pray more, but I just can't because when I get down, there's so much noisy and I want to fix and I want to put everything together and let things settle and let them be. And it's really hard. And so this poem from the Sufi poet Rumi is very helpful. Wonderful reminder for me, something I learned long ago and I have to relearn again because what's happening now is at a depth I do not know. This human being is a guest house. Every morning, a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness, some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all, even if they are a crowd of sorrow, who violently sweeps your house empty of its furniture. Still, treat each guest honorably. He or she may clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice, meet them at the door, laughing, and invite them in. Be grateful for whatever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. Guess what's happened to you and I, as difficult as it may be, as scary as it is, as dark as it may be God's way of visiting you and I. Because obviously, the normal way in which God comes to us, it's muted now for all of us because of the suffering, the fear, and anxiety. Like the top levels of water are turbulent, but what's deeper down? And most of us are still here. It will take us a while. And so we don't recognize God in the normal way. But perhaps, what if in the uninvited, unwanted guests is God, the stranger coming, God who visited Abraham and Sarah. And so though I cannot make sense, I cannot seem to befriend a lot of fears these days, in prayer, this invitation comes to me from the Lord. Just 4 words, be here with me. Even though when I can't be, okay, do with me, prepare the retreat with you, take care of all the logistics to enter this 21st century retreat. Be with me, work with me, sleep with me, get nervous with me, clean the house with me, do pots and pan with me. Here could be, here could be, here could be so crazy because someone next to me drives me nuts, even though I'm having a overreaction to their stimulus. And then with me, I'm with you until the end of time. This is the promise of the Lord. I'm with you. And be not afraid. That's all over the Bible. The second set of phrase, as popular as love, is God saying, not saying, don't let yourself feel fear, but I'm here. I'm with you. I'm in the muck. So I think the Rumi talks about this attitude of hospitality, this openness, this welcoming. Did you know that the words host and hospitality and hospice, hostel and hotel, what we can't do these days, except when we open up to host, sick patients, they all come from the same root word in Latin, which means guests. Surprise, surprise. To be hospitable is to welcome whatever guest comes. The Benedictine tradition has this wonderful saying, welcome each visitor as if they're Christ. And the Jewish people in the Siddur meal always have a chair, an open chair for Elijah, for God's promise to come again, and for the great prophet to return. Hospitality. Henry Nouwen again. Hospitality means primarily the creating of a free space where the stranger can enter and become a friend instead of an enemy. Hospitality is not to change people, not to change me, but to offer me a place where things could surface, even they may seem very scary and uncertain and out of control. So let me close these two next slides. A sharing of what happened to us in fear. So something happens, pandemic, sickness, something happens, suffering, that generates fear in a struggle or a challenge. And oftentimes, because of our biological fight and flight, we react. And we have two extreme ways of reacting. They're both fear-based. The first one is denial or repress. You know that joke? Denial is not just a river in Egypt. It's what you and I do a lot. And that's in many ways normal. And we say, no, this can't be happening. I can't let myself feel this. What's wrong with me? An extreme. The other one, the more we do that, the more we push things up front and we, oh yeah, I'm sorry. So denial, we can laugh at young people who gather a, party in Florida and then they get sick. Denial is a young person saying, hey, I'm healthy. I have no underlying issue. I'm fine. But what about people you live with? So, and then the other one, the extreme, after we deny, we spend so much time denying, we oftentimes go to the other extreme, which is giving up, powerlessness, but not the bad kind. It's like throwing in the towel. I'm done. I'm giving the keys. I'm tired now. I'm tired now. Or let things consume us, like contract, reading news all the time, going to catastrophizing mode. I'm just going to give up. So you get the idea. And then there's the befriending, trusting in God's abiding love and presence. And it's not going to be easy. It's going to be a roller coaster, even in this time of befriending. People, you and I may have known it before, but now we have to relearn again because we're in a much different time now. Stranger time, also a potentially blessed time. So what are some concrete ways what are some concrete tips in prayer? As much as we're able to sit for prayer or stand or walk for prayer, let me recommend a few, okay? and we'll post it online so you can take a picture or you can, yeah. And these are all from the Bible. Jesus, have mercy on me. This is what people say the most in the gospel. And mercy here is not pity, your goodness. May your goodness flow upon me. So oftentimes we don't know, when I don't know what's going on, when I'm like a yo-yo, it's okay. Jesus, have mercy on me. Sometimes I want to take this all away, or I'm just going to say, can you just sit with me? Because, God, I can't sit with myself. Or the man who asked for healing for his son. Jesus, I believe, help my unbelief. Or handing our fears over to God. To say, here, I can only take this much here. This is what happens at every offertory during Mass. Or that's my line. Be here with me. And where does it come from? Remain with me in John 15. Remain in my love as I remain in the Father's love. Hold me, please. On the foot of the cross, Jesus looks at the beloved disciples and he says, here is your mom. And he turns to his mom, Mary, here is your son. And then together they came and they lived together. Hold me. And sometimes these days, all I can say is, Lord, could you just hold me? Please hold me like a child in my mother's arms, or in my father's embrace. In you, I take refuge. This is the psalm for today's Mass, actually. You get a chance to see it. Do you not care that we are perishing? This is when Jesus is asleep on the boat and it's stormy. And if you, one of the resources this week is to see or to read Pope Francis' amazing prayer and blessing yesterday. He unpacks this gospel and this passage. And then the last one, tomorrow's Sunday reading. If you had been here, my brother would not have died. And Jesus wept. I've cried, even though I don't want to cry unexpectedly. And it's so moving to simply see Jesus cry with me and cry with people who can't bury their dead, who can't visit their loved ones, and who are isolated because they cannot see their loved one. And Jesus weeps. These are not answers, my friends. These are tips to enter this mystery and to allow possibly whatever's happened to us to be a friend, to be friend. So I've gone over a few minutes. So thank you, everyone. So we're going to go into prayer mode now for the next 25, 30 minutes. And for the first 10 minutes, I'm going to guide you into a guided prayer to befriend difficult feelings. But before that, as best as we can, let's try to name a difficult feeling. So you can close your eyes, and we ask you to prepare for this retreat to notice what feelings have been frequenting you. So just take a note right now, let yourself feel, and just to name what feelings right now seems to predominate. Maybe a hard feeling, sadness, confusion, fear, helplessness. You don't have to judge, you don't have to control. As best as you can name it. And if you can't, it's okay. But it's good to imagine being with a friend who knows you, who understands you, who accepts you, and let yourself be seen, be in the company of this friend. So it's better to have a recording. So I'm going to turn off my video. We're gonna go into a guided recording, and you can listen with my voice, and then I'll come back in about 11 minutes to help you with the rest of your personal time. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thank you. Let us enter this mystery together with the one who promises to be with us, even though we cannot recognize the divine one.
Welcome to this exercise in befriending uncomfortable or hard feelings with God. Sit back and relax. Throughout this exercise, imagine being with a friend who enjoys you without judging, someone who simply wants to know you and become better friends with you. I will use the pronoun I, so when you hear the word I, apply it to yourself. I take 7 deep breaths. I breathe in deeply, breathing out fully. I breathe in deeply, breathing out fully. Becoming more aware of the air as it flows in and out of me. I welcome God's Spirit, the breath of life, each time I breathe in. I try to identify a hard or even painful feeling recently, especially one that frequents like an unwanted visitor. Maybe a sense of failure, anxiousness, helplessness, loneliness, or self-judgment. It may not be easy to pick one, for it might be elusive or mixed with other emotions. That's okay. I try to get in touch with an uncomfortable feeling, even a fear, as best as I can. I named the feeling as blank, perhaps sadness, loneliness, helplessness. I try to speak it out loud if no one is around. I let myself feel blank without judging myself in the presence of that good friend who accepts me as I am. Where do I feel that emotion on my body? On my shoulders, my forehead, my throat, or neck, or chest, or stomach, or lower back. I invite God to be with me as I feel blank. I let God see me as I am, even as I struggle to be present. I say, Lord, I'm feeling blank. Lord, I'm feeling blank. In your presence, you who always look with love. I ask God, what would you like me to do with this feeling, Lord? To accept myself, what it means to be me, to be human at this present time, and continue to sit with you? Or do I let this feeling pass like clouds rolling by a lazy summer day? I await your lead, Lord. How do you invite me to go through this with you, Lord? How do you invite me to go through this with you, Lord? As I end this exercise, I give thanks for this opportunity to befriend hard feelings with God. I smile to myself like a good friend, grateful for this time of learning to listen. Thank you for trusting me as your guide. Please take note of what remains with you as we finish. God bless.